Game of Thrones. I'm a new man now. Not because my body's been operated more times this year than any other time in my life, but because I've finally seen Game of Thrones. Now, I had tried many times before to watch the show, but for some reason I would just watch the first episode and think, yeah, that was pretty good, and then just completely forget about its existence. Since I've been stuck at home for months with absolutely nothing to do other than play Skyrim and watch a ton of movies, I decided that I would just sit down and try to watch Game of Thrones again. And oh boy, did I do just that. I watched all 8 seasons in under a week, and I fell absolutely in love with it. Not with the last 3 to 4 seasons, obviously, because oh my god, they are not good. After I finished watching the series, I ordered the first book in the Song of Ice and Fire trilogy, and I bet you that you'll never guess the name of it. I finished reading it in just over a week, and 800 pages in a week is a pretty good record for me. But guys, this book is really good. I know I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here, but for me, this is groundbreaking. Since I wasn't watching the show when it first came out, I completely missed out on all the cultural relevance that this show had. Things were happening, like people were gathering in bars to watch episodes, and I genuinely had no fucking clue that this was happening. And I was in college while the last season was airing. How dumb was I that I let this whole part of culture just pass me by, and now I have to play catch up 4 years later? Anyway, all of that to say that Game of Thrones is my current hyperfixation. So it was to my surprise when I found out that Saturday Night Live had made a bunch of Game of Thrones themed sketches. Now, I may be one of the few people willing to admit this, but I actually really like SNL. It may not be the funniest show in the world, but when SNL has a sketch that works, it really works. And of course, the opposite of that is true. There are so many sketches that I hold near and dear to my heart, but for every diner lobster, there are like 5 Elon Musk Warriors waiting to beat the shit out of me with a baseball bat. And let me tell you, Game of Thrones did not break this pattern. But before I get into that, what's up? My name is Connor McDowell, and I'm currently campaigning to be People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive for the year 2023. If you like this video, or you think I should be nominated, just click subscribe. 1 subscribe equals 1 vote for me to be sexy in print. Obviously, I'm not as sexy as Sean frickin' Bean, but I can at least try. Anyway, I want to start by talking about a Game of Thrones sketch that I actually think is funny, just to give you an idea of the range of sketches they've made. Also, spoilers for pretty much all of Game of Thrones ahead. Game of Thrones is funny. And I'm not saying that because I'm a new fan of the show and just recently saw this and thought, hey, this one's pretty funny. No, I thought it was funny before I had even seen Game of Thrones. I mean, it has Bill Hader, who is one of the greatest SNL cast members ever. In 2013, Zach Galifianakis hosted SNL, and one of the standout sketches from that night was Game of Thrones, which takes Game of Thrones trivia and turns it into a game show. The premise of the sketch is that the 3 contestants get to choose from different Game of Thrones related categories. The game is hosted by Bill Hader, whose name is O.J. Simpson for some reason.
And yes, it's been a long, hard life.
Not sure why they did that. The contestants are played by Taron Killam, Aidy Bryant, and the host, Zach Galifianakis, who's dressed in a very small, shiny green dragon costume that I think I would look pretty good in. 2 of the contestants get Game of Thrones related questions, but whenever Zach Galifianakis tries to answer, it's not related to Game of Thrones in any way at all. For example, geography has nothing to do with Westeros and is just regular US geography.
What is the capital of Wisconsin?
The rest of the sketch repeats this formula of Bill making fun of Zach for not knowing anything besides Game of Thrones trivia. This sketch has a very simple premise that I can get behind. Making fun of nerds is okay and funny. I may have been personally attacked by this sketch, but I think that makes it much funnier.
But let's say they want to put all their money in a Roth IRA. Duncan, what is a Roth IRA? Oh, God!
I could tell you a million things about Star Wars and Marvel, but I have no fucking clue what a Roth IRA is, and I have no plans on finding out what that means. Now, as much as I love making fun of losers and surprise cameos...
Duncan, name this person. Oh my God, it's him!
There are some other Game of Thrones SNL sketches that aren't very good at all. And of course, I'm talking about the infamous Khal Drogo's Ghost Dojo. a sketch with a name that is almost as cringe as the sketch itself. I am fully convinced the only reason this sketch exists is because Jason Momoa was hosting and they thought they needed to do a Game of Thrones skit, even though his character has been dead for 6 seasons by the time this aired. Why does Khal Drogo have a dojo? Literally only because it vaguely rhymes. In fact, if you Google Game of Thrones dojo, the only thing that comes up is this sketch, because dojos just don't exist in the Game of Thrones universe. This isn't a big deal at all. In fact, I wouldn't even give a shit if the sketch was at least mildly good. But since it sucks, points off for disrespecting the world building. Don't ever disrespect the world building. The premise of the sketch isn't even that bad. Since Khal Drogo died, he started a talk show where he invites other characters that have died on Game of Thrones. But that is about right where anything good about this sketch ends. In the very beginning of the sketch, we are introduced to the main host of the show, who is in fact not Khal Drogo. Why? Because Khal Drogo only speaks Dothraki, so he would just sit there and do nothing. So of course he needs somebody else there, and who better than one of his blood riders, played by Kenan Thompson.
I'm Turbo, blood rider to the great Carl himself. Carl, how you feeling tonight?
This doesn't really make any sense because a random blood rider would have even less knowledge of the common tongue than the call. So why did we pick a blood rider? Because they were lazy and just wanted to do something Game of Thrones related. Now, I'm not saying this job is easy by any means. Being on SNL is probably one of the hardest jobs in the entertainment industry. I mean, writing and producing a 3-hour-long show every week is just unbelievable. But that doesn't mean I can't criticize them when they end up doing something really bad. I just think the sketch would have been a lot funnier if you had just Jason Momoa as the host and just let him be Jason. I mean, if we're already establishing that the Dothraki have a public access TV channel and can also see what Khal Drogo is doing after he died, then I don't see why we just can't have him speak common too. I get that they wanted the big joke to be that he's still the violent oaf that you know and love, but it didn't really work out for them, did it? But also a sketch where there's an interviewer who doesn't talk could be funny on its own. Anyway, we start off with a dumb fucking man-spreading joke.
Hey, you mind closing your legs just a little bit there, Carl? You ever heard of the term man-spreading?
Okay, look, yes, this sketch came out in 2018 when manspreading was like a whole big thing, but why did it have to be in this sketch? It's just a weird reference to be in a Game of Thrones sketch. So then Drogo stabs his co-host, and for a minute I thought, oh sweet, now it's just Drogo.
You'll never know how fast they'll kill off a character. Oh. And I'm back! Revived by a witch. All right.
The first guest that they bring into the Ghost Dojo is Hodor, played by Beck Bennett, who is also one of my favorite cast members of all time. And, just like in the show, he doesn't say anything but Hodor.
Who are you? Hodor! Why? Hodor? What do you do? Hodor!
This could have been a really funny bit where Drogo and Hodor just kind of sit there in silence because they both don't talk. But nope, whoever wrote this sketch decided that we needed to have Kenan Thompson explain the joke.
Okay, great combo. Thanks for stopping by, Hodor. Really glad we got you two together. Hey, would you mind holding the door for our next guest?
Hold the door!
And then the unthinkable happens. Hodor says something other than Hodor.
Yeah, thanks, Hodor.
Oh, please, yeah, it's no trouble at all. Yeah.
I'll admit, I did chuckle a little bit at this. The next guest is the High Sparrow, played by Pete Davidson, which, okay.
Please welcome the High Sparrow.
Hey, everyone.
The whole joke of this is that the High Sparrow didn't have sex and still ended up in the same heaven that Khal Drogo did, who fucked whoever he wanted and killed a bunch of people. A funny joke on its own, but then they pretty much just explained the joke again.
And we both ended up in the same heaven. Cool. It almost makes you question religion.
Kenan says that the High Sparrow is a cult leader, and that makes him kind of like a king, which, no it doesn't, not even close. But again, the only reason he says this is so they could hammer in another joke about something that happened on the show. And then Drogo pours hot gold onto Pete Davidson's head.
I didn't mean to offend you.
Down for king!
You ruined my potato sack!
Why? This doesn't even happen to the High Sparrow. The whole premise of the joke doesn't make any fucking sense, except for them being like, look, this happened on the show. Remember this? Isn't that so funny? No, it's not funny. This just reeks of laziness, and that really sucks. Speaking of laziness, Brienne of Tarth, played by Heidi Gardner, walks into the dojo.
They're in danger! Where are the Stark children? Arya, Sansa, the cripple in the sled.
Now, if you've seen Game of Thrones, you must be thinking, wait. But Brienne of Tarth doesn't die, and you'd be 100% right. They just threw her in there to make a joke, I guess, about how she needs to protect the Stark kids. Drogo then calls her a man in Dothraki and threatens to fight her. There are a million different jokes that you can make right here that would be in support of gender identity and gender expression, and they chose this one.
Man? Wow. You have a lot to learn about identity politics.
What the fuck? I mean, is that even a joke? Also, how was she able to understand that he called her a man? He was speaking Dothraki. Does Brienne of Tarth all of a sudden speak Dothraki? I don't fucking think so. But wait, it gets worse.
You're right. Cole need to learn from Cole's mistakes, or Cole never win Oscar. Or never host Oscar.
There is nothing cringier than when somebody messes up on SNL or any live event. There's just something about it that is really, really hard to watch. And I totally get messing up. Do you know how many times I've messed up on stage? Fucking countless numbers of times. But it's always hard to watch. I'm not saying anything against Jason here. I love you, Jason, and we all mess up, but it still makes this sketch even worse. Now, in order to get out of the situation that we're in, where someone who isn't dead goes into the underworld, what would you do as a writer? Would you A, have the character leave like the rest of the guests? B, kill the character so now they're stuck in the ghost dojo? C, have the character escorted out by bodyguards? Or D, cut to commercial break where you make up fake ads that vaguely have something to do with Game of Thrones and nothing to do with comedy? If you picked anything other than D, you'd be correct. Unfortunately, SNL picked D, and we're forced to sit through ads for Little Beard Twisties, the Red Wedding Building as a wedding destination, which could have been funny, but it's not funny.
We've cleaned up almost all the blood, and we hired a new wedding planner.
Dead Horses and Call on the Wall, which is one of those dumb fucking Elf on the Shelf parodies. Anyway, after commercials, we get to the guest that we have been waiting for the whole time. Prince Joffrey, played by Kate McKinnon.
Please welcome King Joffrey.
I love Kate McKinnon, and she plays teenage boys very well. So I was super hopeful that maybe she could turn this whole ship around.
You're all just mad that you're not me. Why don't you catch me outside? I said catch me outside!
Nothing, and I mean nothing, can save this sketch now. Catch Me Outside was already 2 fucking years old at this point. Why did they include it? Why was this necessary? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't. So after that awful joke, Keenan tells Joffrey that the woman who poisoned him is in the studio, and the whole thing just turns into an episode of Jerry Springer, rest in peace, with Adie Bryant playing Lady Tyrell. I know I've said this before, but this really had an opportunity to be funny. But no, they just do this lame fake catfight thing.
I will, you son of a bitch! Oh, you lady, you want this? No, you want this? I'm about to kill you again, Justin Bieber!
Alright, well that's the end of the sketch. Wait, it's not? They added another bit that isn't funny? Oh boy.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll see the results of our big makeover. Here's what Oberon Martell looked like after the mountain gouged out his eyes and crushed his skull.
That's not even what Oberon looked like after his head was crushed, because that picture is from the middle of the crushing. They can't even get their tenses right in this sketch. But we're finally at the end, so there's no way that this sketch could get any worse, right? Right?
And here's what he looks like now. Yeah! On Carl Drogo's Ghost Dojo!
Kill me. Please fucking kill me right now. Thank God that's the end of the sketch. There's more? Are you fucking kidding me? Finally, the sketch ends with a dumb Talking Dead joke where Jason Momoa kills Kyle Mooney while saying,
No more after shows! Oh, best dead never!
I am so relieved that the sketch is over now. Don't worry, the sketch is actually over now. No more fake outs, I promise. So yeah, that just happened. That is genuinely one of the worst SNL sketches I've ever seen, and I just needed to share it with you so I wouldn't be the only one in pain. Since I finished Game of Thrones, I had been trying to find a topic to cover on this channel just so watching all of Game of Thrones didn't feel like a huge waste of time, and I'm very happy that I found this. Not only because it gave me content, but also because it may have given me a lot more content than I had hoped. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of SNL sketches out there, and many of them are bad. So if you know of any really bad SNL sketches and want to hear my thoughts on them, please leave a comment down below. I also had a lot of fun making this video, and I would love the opportunity to keep exploring SNL in this format. I hope you all liked this video enough for me to do many sequels. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me today. If you liked this video, don't forget to click like and subscribe if you think I should be nominated to be People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive. If you're new here, be sure to check out some of my other videos. I got some funny ones, I got some serious ones. There's something for everybody. You can follow me on all of my social media, you can join my Discord. The links for all of those are in the description down below. Have you seen this sketch before? Were you a fan of Game of Thrones while it was airing on TV? Let me know in the comments. I'm Connor McDowell, and I'm gonna go watch a bunch of good SNL sketches. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.